This is Lucas, and I'd like to show this lathe. It's a 1340. It's a Chinese-made lathe. It's actually quite a good lathe. It's in good shape. It's a gap bed lathe. There's a gap right in here. It's a pretty competent lathe. It's got a 2 horsepower motor, and it's a relatively large lathe. It's a 13-inch. That means the workpiece you can work on could be as much as 13 inches in diameter, but truthfully that's really only valid if you're facing, and actually you could go larger than that with the gap. So there's you know, you can kind of argue both ways on it, but it is a good it's a good lathe. It's got a 40-inch bed, and it comes with some nice accessories, all the original accessories. I think pretty much everything is here. It's a gearhead lathe. It's got 8 speeds. It's the gearing system seems to be working nicely. It's got a separate control lever, or a control lever here on the apron to engage the motor. I'm just going to flip it on briefly. So that's the forward direction. Now to get it to reverse, let's have one more motion you have to go through. You have to push it out and then up. Doing it left-handed, so it's a little awkward for me doing it backwards. The other cool thing about it is it's got 2 separate rods, one for threading the lead screw, and then this one is a rod that provides power to the carriage traverse system within the apron, and the cross slide drive system within the apron. So I'd just like to, I'm going to move the camera now. I'm going to bring it around here and take a look at the outboard gear system on it. So that's the outboard gear system. It's got 5 gears on it right now, and I was going to try to find the pitches on these, but I'm guessing this one's a 127, and this one's either 100 or a, I think it's probably 100 or a 120. It also has change gears. We'll go over that a little bit later. It's got pretty good variety, and the change gears that are coming with the lathe range in size. It goes from a 30, 36, a 42, 50, 54, 60, and 66 cogs on the gears. So those change gears will give you a lot of flexibility as to what kind of threads you can cut. But right out of the box, you can, and it looks like from the display here, this is a 40, this is a 120, a 127, and another 40. So with those, just with those gears in place, you can cut all of these threads. And here's the, try to settle it down here, but here's where it states what the gears are on that outboard gear system. So in addition, it has these change gears right here, and as I mentioned, the number of cogs on them a moment ago. So it's got another 7 gears that can be used to give more versatility to what you can cut on that lathe. Let's go back to the main system here for a moment. Let's talk about what we have here. It's got the gibs on this, on the cross slide and on the compound, are both the tapered gibs, so those are good. It's got a threading dial. It's got a this is the clutch for both the traverse, which would be this way. Sorry, this way is the traverse, and then this way is the cross slide. So it's got that clutch on it. It's got the half nut here. It's got I think I mentioned the threading dial. It's got the apron control. Over here we've got a lever that selects between the that's this lever right here. This lever selects between the feed, which is this, and threading, which is this. So this is engaged right now to just drive this, I don't know if my finger can be seen here, just to drive this one. If we flip this lever over, then this one is out of engagement, and this one is then driven. So this is the lead screw, this is the feed drive. Let's take a look at the other accessories here. So this is the steady rest. It's a good steady rest. It's very sturdy, and it's it's a telescopic type, which is good. As one brings these in and out, these knobs do not move in and out. They stay in position, and then it's got a open. We can open this up like so. Down here we've got a very good drill chuck, and it's a Morse taper 3, which is pretty sturdy, and it's also got a quick release on the lever here on the tailstock, so that you can move the tailstock very quickly by moving that back, sliding it, and then locking it up again. Also, there's another lever. It's a little hard to see, but it's this one, and this actually locks the quill of the tailstock then from moving. So that's the two controls on that, along with this. And I should point this out too. This is kind of a nice feature on this lathe. It's got a graduated micrometer dial on the tailstock, so you can actually get a pretty good idea of what your how far into your workpiece you're going with some precision. So that's the tailstock. Oh, and the barrel itself is graduated. So that's shown right here, and that's in inches and in metric. On all the cross feeds are in inches. So these are in inches. This one's missing a handle. That will be replaced before it's gone. Let's talk about the stand. It's got a factory chip tray and the factory headstock and tailstock, left and right plinths. And these are really substantial. They're quite heavy, and I'm not sure that the camera's going to pick this up. But these are at least 3/16 of an inch thick. They're very, very sturdy, and of course the lathe bolts onto them. It holds the chip tray is kind of sandwiched between the lathe bed and the plinth. Let's see, the tooling for the headstock, for the spindle that I have for it, it's got that 3-jaw chuck, which includes the internal and external jaw segments. So the jaw segments are the ones that are not in the chuck are actually over here on this stand. Stand does not go with the lathe, by the way, just the one underneath, not that one. It's got a single phase motor, as I mentioned. Right now it's wired up for 220, but the motor can be converted to 110. It's a 2 horsepower motor, so it's pretty substantial. It'll come with this B by A or 200 series quick change tool post, and it's going to have all 5 of the tool holders. It will not include the tools themselves, so it's going to have the 5 tool holders. I'll go over that in a minute, but it won't actually have the cutting edges in there. Let's see, it's got a follow rest, which I can show here in a minute. And let's see, it's also got the quick change gearbox, which is a real handy thing to have. So those are the features of the lathe. Let's go over quickly some of the accompanying systems here. So for the quick change tool post, these are the holders without the tooling in them. So this is the holder that will come with it, and it would hold a cutoff bar. This is a knurling tool, which actually the knurls actually will come with it, and it can also hold a tool. This one's typically used for a facing tool. You'd put this in the quick change tool post, and it's nice to have that. This is a boring bar holder. I don't have one that doesn't have the bar in it. The one that will go with this will not have the bar, but it will have this holder, and then it will have 2 holders that hold straight tools, like the one that's in the tool holder right now on the lathe. It also comes with, this is the original 4-position tool holder. It's included for completeness sake. It's really much nicer to have the quick change tool post, but that will be coming along. This is a chip deflector for the hand wheel on the traversing hand wheel on the lathe. I found it was just kind of in the way. Chips don't really seem to be too big of a problem on it anyway. And then point out that this is the, now that we've got the carriage away from it a little bit, here's the extents of the gap for the gap bed. So the gap actually this is one end of it. You can see the cutout under here. I'm thinking that's something that's picked up by the camera. Let me just zoom in on that a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is the gap. It starts here and it ends right here. It goes through here, and within the space between the front and rear ways, there are several adjusting bolts that are were probably set at the factory before this was ground. So they're right here. There's 2 of them here, and then there's 3 other. That's a little hard to see. Let's see. There's 2 bolts that are sticking out, and then there are 3 Allen screws that are underneath this. So I'm actually 4. And then there's this one. I'm not exactly sure what that one would do, but I'm guessing that these are all used to level this gap up this way and this way. But I'm also told that if you are going to use it as a gap bed lathe, it's best to, if you're going to take it out, you should take it out and then leave it out, or put it in and leave it in. So I've never taken it out. It's never been out of there. It's just as it was ground from the factory. Dead accurate. Front ways, back ways. Everything looks great. All right. Anything else? Let's see. This is smooth. This all works great. Very nice and smooth. Really, really, really good on the both the compound and the cross feed. So let's do that again. So this is a really nice, and so is this. Everything's working really well on it. I just have the threading dial disengaged from the screw, just because it puts less wear and tear on the gear here and on the lead screw itself. This, of course, moves as needed. Okay, that's the Chinese 1340 lathe. Indicator on there. I've got one of these ground rods from, I guess they're, I'm not sure who the manufacturer is, Chicago Latrobe, I guess it is. So I've got one of these in there. It's a 3/8, and the reason for that is the next video, or the next segment, we'll be putting a concentricity indicator in here, and that will have a 3/8 inch stem on it that'll fit in the chuck. So what I'm going to do now is just turn this on, and lest anybody be concerned, I do have some lube on the point of my dial indicator. I'm not going to wear out the dial indicator. We're going to be at 70 RPM. And we'll just show the deflection on the dial indicator being almost undetectable. Maybe half a thousandths or something like that. Looks like it's probably about a third of 1/1000th, so about 33 tenths, which is outstanding for just a regular 3-jaw chuck, especially given the fact that we're at about 4 inches from the chuck here with this with the dial indicator. So terribly good. I mean, I'm really happy with the accuracy on it. I also looked at the socket on this spindle. I may or may not put the indicator on that, but that looked really, really good as well. So the accuracy on this chuck is really quite good. Not bad for a Chinese lathe. So we'll go to the next segment here momentarily. Alright, this is Lucas again, and now we've got indicating a centering indicator in the chuck. And by the way, I said 33 tenths. That should be 3 tenths. 3.3 tenths was the variance, or the run out in the last video. So just a small correction there. Anyway, now we're back here. I've got this centering indicator, and I've got it chucked up in the chuck, and then this end is in the tailstock. And right now the indicator is the probe is up, and it's up in the socket of the tailstock. And I'm going to just show here that we do have a little bit of misalignment in the tailstock, but actually I think it's acceptable, and it was probably designed into the lathe during manufacture. So we'll talk about that momentarily here, but here's the face of the centering indicator, and I'm going to set this right at 0, and then I'm going to rotate the chuck so that this probe, the probe here, is actually facing downward, and we'll look again at what the face of the indicator says. I'm just going to try to get these two marks a little closer to the 0 point here. So there we go. All right, it's not off by much. Okay, so that's with the probe directly up. Now we're going to rotate it so it's down, and it's off by about a 1/1000th on the clock here. If we were to look at it, actually this is a little high. So the tailstock is actually a little bit high relative to the spindle axis. And I've heard that they actually designed that into these lathes because as the tailstock systems wear, as the base of the tailstock wears against the ways, it will actually drop with time. So this actually gives it a chance to wear in, and they intentionally set them up with about, well, with some number of thousandths above the center line. So we're going to clock it now left and right, or front and back as it were, and that's something that one can adjust with the with these screws here on the between the tailstock base and the upper part of the tailstock. So actually this is clocking in pretty good. It's a little off the 0 mark here. I'm just going to move it over just a touch. I'm going to pull this back and release it, and set that at 0, and then we'll turn it manually here to the other side and reset it. Oh, that's off by more than I realized. Okay, well, that's off by about 2/1000ths. So that can be adjusted. In fact, let's do that. I'll get some tools and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. I've got a couple of Allen wrenches now in the two screws. There's one on the back side too. They're 5mm Allen screws. So Allen sockets. So we'll keep an eye on this, try to bring this into 0. I've got both of these loosened, so we'll see which one there. So that looks like it's probably pretty close. So now let's rotate this again. Actually, I'm going to lock this down first. That'll pull the top and the base of the tailstock together. So that's front, and there's rear. So actually that clocked in just about perfectly with one small adjustment of these two screws. So up and down we're off by about 1/1000th, maybe a little more than that. Back and forth we're off by 0, and that's adjustable with these screws. So that part of the lathe, the alignment of the lathe is really good. The alignment, I'm going to turn this on now. The alignment of the lathe front and back is really good. I've got to get this into gear here because I took it out of gear so I can rotate it manually. So we'll pop it in gear, and we can see that our indicator face here is tremendously good. So we've got extremely good alignment between the tailstock and the chuck, and the previous video showed the nice accuracy of the chuck itself. So this lathe is really in good shape. Okay, once again we've got the 1340 Chinese lathe, and I've got it rigged up here to cut a piece of steel. It's just to show the surface finish. Alright, so this is at 1255 RPM, and we've got a piece of, it's a carbide insert. I've already done this step. I'm going to continue this step. So the depth is set, or the cross feed is set already. So we're going to leave this alone, and just allow the lathe to drive the saddle to the towards the headstock. Periodically shutting out the feed to allow the chip to break. Let's take a look at what we got here. Get some nice uniform chips. Quite blue. Very good. And if we take a look at the finish, I'll zoom in on that. The finish looks really good. I've got a little fraying right here, a little burr from the tool, of course, but otherwise. Then these bright marks are where I broke the chips by shutting off the feed. So let's try to get it a little bit closer here. But anyway, that is that's the type of finish that we're going to get on this lathe. I could probably run that over there one more time, but actually it's quite good. A couple things I forgot to mention. One, it's a D1-4 spindle nose. So this is the spindle locking system uses these cams. There's 3 of them. This, I think we saw how accurate this was in another video. And I also like to point out that the carriage feed, the traverse, the carriage traversing wheel. So that's a good thing too. I haven't yet finished it, but I do have the stud on this handle. We'll be getting a handle on that control. So this is a husky-voiced Lucas signing off.